Yeah, it's really funny that you mentioned that because I remember very vividly um, being at lunch with Jamie Bamber and the producers and having these little like conversations about the potential of her return with with the demise of the planet of Caprica. Was she in fact gone? Was there a chance that perhaps she did survive? And little sort of smatterings and whisperings that perhaps there could be a return of this character, which made me, of course, incredibly excited. And I'm would be lying if I didn't say I waited sort of with bated breath, like, will there be a phone call that she could return? So it didn't happen, obviously, but I do think there's a very fascinating potential story there. If there was ever to be a reboot, what exactly would have happened there in terms of
Yeah.
like exploring their relationship a bit farther?
Yeah, I always thought it'd be cool when I sort of looked at that character and did my research. If she had actually came back as a Cylon, as one of those sort of six sorts of Cylons in terms of that, and
Yeah.
what the stir, the emotions that would have played in terms of Apollo and Jamie Bamber to know his fiance is now his mortal sort of enemy, is sort of such in terms of that, and to deal with that sort of concept that the Cylons killed his sort of wife in terms of that. So there was always an arc there as well in terms of you could have gone down that route with the character as well, which would have been very interesting.
100%. We need to start like we can write our own script,
Yeah.
present it, and do a proper pitch. Yeah, no, I like the way you're looking at that for sure.
Yeah. And Amy, how did the opportunity come about for you to get cast in Battlestar Galactica? Was it the original audition sort of process where you went in front of the producers, directors at the time, and was there maybe two auditions? Were you waiting for a call back? And I imagine Battlestar Galactica, massive show, massive budget. I imagine the competition was great to get any sort of role on a hit cable TV show like Battlestar Galactica.
I love your questions because it's almost like you've sort of crawled into my brain to like know the little tidbits. I actually think the way that I got the part was actually um, quite unique. I am trying to jog my memory. It was so long ago. I had been flown to Vancouver because I'm a Toronto-based actor. So flown at West, 3 hour time change to Vancouver to screen test for, I think it was a CTV show. And I was there for 3 or 4 days going back and forth with that process where like I maybe had the part, didn't have the part. They would bring me back in. In the end, I didn't land that job, but the casting director, which I should have researched the name at the time. She was lovely and she said, you didn't get this one, but there's this part that I think you're her. Like I think you're this character. You'd be perfect for this. Would you mind auditioning now? So she kind of offered me like the bad news of like, you didn't get the job, but there's this part. So I was like, sure. So I did a quick audition for her. And it felt really comfortable, went really well. And then she corresponded with my agent to say, we'd love to have Amy for this part for Battlestar. But it's not until it was like weeks after. And at that point, I needed to fly back to Toronto, but then I would be responsible to pay, I would have to come back to Vancouver. I think they were looking for a Vancouver actor. And I was only on set for I think 1 or 2 days. And so I made the effort to say, well, no, I'll pay for my flight. Like I'll
Wow.
fly back out. I'll pay for like I just want to be part of the show, like without a doubt. And the producers were so generous that they said absolutely not. And they paid to fly me back into Vancouver to do I think I was on set for maybe 2 days, which I just thought was incredibly generous. So it happened through not the method that I would have done where I'm auditioning in Toronto on tape. I was able to do it in person with the casting director, who sort of just felt it out and thought, I think this is your Gianne. I don't know if it's Gianni or John.
Yeah.
And it just sort of fell into place. So perfect timing, I suppose.
And I suppose, Amy, on your set shooting the episode of Battlestar Galactica, you would spend an awful lot of time with Jamie Bamber. But in terms of other cast members, I don't know if you cross paths with them at all. But did you get the honor to to grace the great Eddie Olmos? We had Eddie on season 1, and did you get to share any conversations with him? And were you welcomed by him? Because Eddie was the father figure, the godfather of that sort of show. So if Eddie was happy, everybody was happy. That was
A
the
hundred percent. I also I had the privilege and honor of talking with him. I was actually very nervous because nervous excitement to meet him. Such a phenomenal actor with a very impressive set of roles and jobs that he's done in the past. So kind, so nice. And I think we maybe only spoke for like a few minutes here and there, but he was wonderful. And then Jamie Bamber was fantastic and lovely in terms of the being on the set of Battlestar. It was one of my earlier roles that I landed, but it was unlike anything I'd experienced working in Toronto in terms of the production value, the just the support, the professionalism. Like it was a legit, like it felt very different. Like this was a legit set. And even though it felt grand, everyone was very accessible in terms of their assistance and their help and their support. And so it was probably, when I've been asked before what my favorite role has been, even though it was probably one of the tinier roles I've done, it was probably like my number one. Like if someone were to ask, I'm like, yeah, my few days on the Battlestar Galactica set was 1,000% the one that I hold near and dear to my heart.
And Amy Lalonde, if people don't know this, they might probably laugh at this question. I might say, "What a foolish question to ask!" But if you know about this and you know about the makeup of Battlestar Galactica, it's very sort of practical one, and you'd be surprised by the answers I've gotten about this. In
Okay.
terms of, did you ever get lost on set in terms of Battlestar Galactica?
I didn't because I
Really?
mainly filmed outside. So I will never forget this. We had filmed outside on a rooftop and we were overlooking the mountains and giant, beautiful cruise ships coming in. And the overall sort of like landscape that I was looking at, we were outdoors. So I wasn't on the main massive set that just went on and on.
Yeah, it's
Um,
massive. Yeah.
yeah, I believe the flashback scene, it was shot on film, which just made everything look more beautiful and authentic. I think even that scene where there's Jamie Bamber's character, Captain Viadamos having the flashback, the wind's blowing, like it's a slow motion. It was just an outdoor experience. So I didn't get lost on the set, but I got lost in the massiveness of just the amount of crew, just the setup.
Mm.
The setup
And
was very intense.
yeah. And Amy, you were a guest star the same episode that Bill Duke, the iconic Bill Duke, was a guest star as well in
Ah,
the exact same episode as you in terms of Battlestar Galactica. And did the sort of, dare I say, the guest stars for that sort of episode during between break takes, did you have lunch together? Did you get to sort of interact, or were you in different parts or different takes?
you know what? We probably did, but I think I was so nervous because it was one of the first roles. It was maybe my fourth acting credit. I think I was so wide-eyed that if I had met him, I wouldn't have known. Other than like definitely Edward James Olmos, I was like looking around for him. But no, I may have. I don't know. It's quite
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, yeah, Bill Duke, the iconic Bill Duke. People might know him from Predator and Commando, starring alongside
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Uh, Amy, just in terms of Battlestar Galactica, we talk about having TV credits of worth note in the 2000, about opening up doors and opening up opportunities.
Yes.
Battlestar Galactica, obviously a cable show running across all America, Canada, being shown all over the world at that sort of stage. Uh, did it open up opportunities in the following months to come for you in terms of auditions, roles for your talent agent, whether they're successful or not? Did they open up opportunities for having Battlestar Galactica on your credits?
It's a great question, and I would say yes. Nothing in particular. I mean, perhaps agents have more of that sort of insular knowledge. I think what it does, it gives you definitely some cred to have that on your resume is just such a great honor. And to be able to navigate and experience moving through a set like that, where it's just everything lands so solid, the script writing, the directing, like you're just in good hands. And as an actor, it makes you feel like you can just dive in and do your craft without having to worry about everything else because you're so supported. And as an actor, I always feel like we're the icing on the cake. It's the crew. It's the process that builds the structure of a good show, that really delivers it. And then the actors come in at the end and put on the sprinkles and we do our thing. But if you don't have a strong base, like having phenomenal writers, phenomenal producers, phenomenal production value, and the foresight to know what you want this show to be. It doesn't matter how good the acting is. You need that base. And I felt that of all the works I've done and shows I've done, it was solid. And so I think having that on my resume for sure probably opened up some doors subtly, or gave some cred. I think
Yeah.
it definitely gave me some cred in the early days.
Yeah. And Amy, having appeared so early in Battlestar Galactica in season 2 out of the 5 seasons, did you almost have an invested interest in the series and the show after that you appeared? Obviously, playing the character, wondering maybe in season 3 would she return, maybe later in season 4. Were you sort of, when it was airing on a weekly basis, were you sort of keeping up or trying to keep tabs what was going on, or did you very much after you appeared in the first episode, did you start to park it and put it to your back of your mind and said, right, on to the next sort of job? Or did an idea that there was no real distinctive answer whether she was dead or not in terms of your character, did it play on your mind and conscious to say, oh, I need to keep in zone with this in terms of what's going on, so that if the
Yeah.
producers directors ring me, I can show a vested interest in the
Yeah.
series?
I love your questions. You really you go right for the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I think it's tough for actors because you can taste something so sweet, like a role like that, and for every part you get, you've auditioned for 100, or you've flown to another city to screen test, and there's no guarantee you're going to get the part. So I know for me, and other actors might feel this way, is you just never really get that invested because it's
Mm.
just a sign up for heartbreak, right? Like you just don't know, because even there could be, I mean, that would be a recurring role, so there's a greater chance, but that's at the whim of the writers if she's going to return. And then for new parts, you can't really get that attached until it happens, because even you can then get the offer or the callback or the screen test, but it's sort of like fate if it's meant to be. So I think, to be honest, to answer your question, long-winded answer, I think I just let it go and just thought, okay, universe, if this happens, it does. And then what I find so wonderful is that I just literally was vacationing in Dublin 2 days ago, and my agent, or it was maybe 3 days ago, that my agent emailed and said, oh, by the way,
Mm.
Jim, and mentioned you and Radio Ireland. And I was like, do they know I'm in Ireland? Like, this is amazing. Like how that just popped up so many years later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I just, appreciated the experience. Of course, wished I could come back on set, uh, but just sort of like willed it to the fates to see how it would play out.
Yeah. And Amy, you mentioned you were in Ireland at the weekend. Tell us, what did you do, and did it leave a lasting impression on you?
It absolutely left a lasting impression on me. I was in Dublin for the weekend, jetted off to London and returned back to Dublin. I had never been, and it has left such a special place in my heart. I need to return. I recently did the Ancestry.ca test, which just confirmed what I knew. My mom is a Murphy, so I'm like 49.5% Irish. I made a concerted effort to go to every pub I went to ask if they had the Murphy pint and would drink that. And so yeah, first time in Dublin, was absolutely charmed. Can't wait to return. The Guinness Storehouse was phenomenal. It was a lovely mix of education and just being in the actual historical space while enjoying a pint of Guinness or two was wonderful. Made it down to Blackrock and did sort of the market there and toured the seaside, but it was too short. I need to return. Oh, and was gifted. I wanted to ask you, if you're asking about me, I would say to you, what's the story? I wrote this down. How's your horse? Is that correct? And then what's the crack? And
What's the
I was
crack? Yes.
I
Yeah.
was gifted this in my new shopping bag that I'll bring to the
Yeah.
grocery here in Toronto, is
Uh,
what the crack.
in,
So
in,
yeah,
in in Ireland, there's a great saying, an Irish saying, you can use it anywhere if you go in the world. Níla isagum, I don't know.
okay. I'm gonna bust
Neil,
that one up too.
Níla isagum, I don't know, in
Let's
terms of,
go.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that
I'll,
was the sentence that got through me secondary school for a number of years. I know when the teacher would ask a question in terms of Irish. Amy Lalonde, for the final 30 seconds. I'm going to turn it
Yes.
over to you now. You might share your experience in Battlestar Galactica by telling us a funny story, a funny sequence, maybe something that happened in a particular day that made you smile, that made you laugh, that made you cry, that made a lasting remark, or maybe is an interaction with a guest star, something that's unique to you, something that you'll never forget, and something that is, when you think about the show, you say, oh, I remember that, or it mightn't be an
Yes.
acting scene, but it was just something that sticks in your mind.
Okay. I have to say it's not connected to the character as much, but it was, I think, my third or fourth credit. So I was a classic uh Torontonian starving artist, living paycheck to paycheck to like pay for my rent in my tiny little Toronto apartment. And when I was flown at West to do the episode, and they walked me to my trailer. So normally trailers are quite, for the actors, are quite small, enough for you just to have like a little washroom, a place to change. It's like a bit of a, you know, a bit of a cubicle. And I'm not sure if they just didn't have a smaller trailer for day players, or if they were just being overly kind to me. But the trailer was larger than my apartment in Toronto. I walked I walked in and I thought, and my name was on the door. I think I took a photo. I was all excited. And I walked in and it was this massive trailer. And I went back to the assistant and I said, I think this is the wrong one. Like this must belong to like Edward James Olmos. Like this is not my trailer, because it literally was bigger than my apartment. And I just felt very cared for and very spoiled. And just that, and the overall professionalism and production value of that show and how kind everyone is sort of the standout. But the trailer thing makes me laugh because I thought they messed it up. I'm like, there's no way, but I think that's just how they treated